this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
At Lowe's, get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, install, and more when you spend $2,500 on select major appliances. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 2/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Florida. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
Visit your nearby Lowe's on East 17th Avenue in Hutchinson.
Sometimes all we want is more of the same, like another round of golf played from a channel with 24/7 coverage, another look at the garden, and the deer as they pick their way through it, another Taco Tuesday, followed by a whatever's in the fridge Wednesday. And to get more of the same, all we need is a little help. With adaptable care plans from qualified, compassionate caregivers matched to your family's needs, Home Instead can help you and your passions stay home, no matter what's on your horizon. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. They say that a man is only as good as his word. I've heard other people say that, you come into this world with an untainted name, and how you maintain it throughout life is how you will be remembered. I don't like to tell untruths. I don't like to prevaricate. Don't like to lie. So, please, I beg of you right now, give me grace. I had every intention of never mentioning this person's name again because I got to tell you, I'm kind of over it. But for this episode of Body Bags, I shall relent, and I shall utter the name Ryan Kohberger. And this is why. There have been multiple developments over this past week as I'm talking to you right now, and I know this violates every rule of taping of anything. You're never supposed to date yourself, but I have to give it to you. It's August 22nd, 2025 right now as I'm stating this, and there's just been a continuous stream of information coming out. But one thing that people have kind of passed over that I'd like to address, among other things in this discussion today, has to do with DNA. And it also has to do with some folks that I hold near and dear to my heart. And that's Othram Labs. So let's have a chat, shall we? Coming to you from the beautiful campus of Jacksonville State University, I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Dave, I know you heard me say it. I said that I wasn't going to say the name again. I'm going to try to retreat from it, not mention the name as much as I there's something within you, you have to reference something specifically. You have to refer back. I'm sick to my back teeth of hearing the name, of hearing about him and, all of the goings on and everything else that we've talked about over this past week. You and I both have, because we've been on multiple platforms. People ask questions. I'm not going to turn them down.
Right.
If I have an opportunity to go into the media. But I think
in your defense, I can say something.
What's that?
For a lot of us, you're the only one that can explain some of these things in a way that A, I can understand, and B, entertaining enough so that I can actually enjoy learning, the science. And that is what I appreciate about what you do whenever you are making appearances. Yes, this Kohberger case, it just won't stop, but mainly because when we first came to it, it was evil that fell on college students and very successful college students. That's something people have got to remember, in particular with Maddie and Kaylee. They were both, Kaylee was already gone from college. She'd already gotten her, she already got all the credit she needed for her degree. Maddie was on track. They're going to graduate in 4 years. Most people don't do it in 5. Xana and Othram were both doing well. And here they are destroyed in the middle of the night. In this case, they go to college and die in the most violent and vicious way. And now we know who did it. And I don't think we know the why, except that sometimes evil exists in people. And it's not a cop out to say that. This is an evil man doing evil things, and he wouldn't have stopped. I dare say when we saw the video, Joe, of the car the night, when he kept driving around the block and would go back down, he was building up his courage to go and attack girls in their sleep.
Brother, we are so on the same sheet of music with that, because I felt like the same thing. And it wasn't because we both know that's the only explanation for it, because we both know he did a really horrid job of surveillance. Because if he had been a success at surveillance, he would have had an awareness that there was more than 1 or 2 people in the house.
Right. So,
he failed miserably at that. But every time I saw I called it the other day, I think I was on some platform, or I referred to it as a revolution. It's like a revolution around that spot.
Right.
And he kept passing in front of the camera. And I think you're right. He is trying to build up the courage in order to do this thing that, in my estimation, he was sitting around, his little hole in the wall apartment there in Pullman, fantasizing about, everything that, he wanted to do, he wanted to accomplish. And what a horrible marker for an individual to leave behind, that, you're actually, just think how twisted, just for a second, just pause, put it on pause and just think how twisted this is, that you would sit around and just, kind of meditate on this. And that's what it comes down to, trying to be focused on it and do all this thing. And look, a lot of us, we try to seek out, I think, good things to think about. Many of us, it's a world that's crammed with anxiety and fear and all those sorts of things. But in our moments that we have a free moment, you sit there and you think, wow, wouldn't it really be nice if I could be with my grandkids right now, or if I could be at the beach with the ones I love and just hanging out and listen to seagulls. And, you create this fantasy in your mind. The next thing you know, your wife is buying $1,000 worth of airline tickets. But I'm just saying,
right.
that, those are the things that I think, and I'll use the word normal. I don't give a damn what you think. That's what normal people think about. They think about doing something that's edifying. It doesn't have to be going to the beach. It could be improving yourself in some way. And this parallel existence that he kind of lived in this fantasy world with, and I got to tell you, I think that he was acting out a fantasy, and it's a gruesome fantasy. And then trying to be this wellspring of knowledge that he purported to be among all the other, people that are, just kind of, you're beneath me kind of thing. And as it turned out, brother, he wasn't too damn smart now, was he?
What an idiot. You know, Joe, when you and I have looked at this case deeper than any other case I've done and had to cover it more. And what we have found in the last couple of weeks where Moscow PD is releasing the information that we would have seen at trial, they're not releasing things that would not have been in the public eye. Everything we have on this would have come out at trial. One of the things that that actually has come to the forefront this week, of course, is he's after his first night in jail, he was complaining because, as we had been told, he was getting terrorized 24/7. Different inmates taking turns, just talking to him through the vents and saying horrible things. Believe me, this is a guy who is not where he thought he was going to be. And, you know, he's been threatened with sexual assault. And I was just reminded of Kaylee Gonzalez's mother passing along what her younger sister had to say. I think her name's Audrey, and she said, you know, you might have gotten big you might have gotten big A pluses in college, but now you're going to get big D's in prison. And a lot of us have enjoyed hearing that, you know, knowing what this man did. But there are certain aspects of this investigation, Joe, because it's one thing to emotionally go through life. It's another to get a conviction at trial. And when you go to trial, it can't be, well, this guy was a goober that, you know, said weird things to girls in bars. This guy was just kind of creepy. He, you know, thought he was better than everybody else. You know, this guy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All those things are just emotional things or attitudes or opinions about the type of person he was. When it comes right down to it, you have to forensically put him in that room, in that time period, and with the people who are dead and with you've got to have the crime. I mean, you've got to have the tool of the crime, in this case, a knife. The only thing they had was the knife sheath. They didn't have the knife. We still don't have the knife.
No, we don't. And, you know, I still, Kimmy and I were sitting around talking about it over coffee the other day. If you think I hate saying his name, oh my Lord, my wife, oh my gosh, you know, she's a mama, and you know, we've got kids we've got friends that have kids this age. We're right in that sweet spot where, you know, all of our friends that we have, our network of friends, the lion's share of them, their kids have either just finished college or they're in the middle of college. So, you know, I cannot, and I would not presume to say that I would ever identify with these families on any level. However, I can say that you kind of understand, you know, the anger that rises up in a generation of folks, you know, like me and my wife and you know, we're approximately the same age, and, you know, and it's very real. It's very real, you know, relative to that. And so we were talking about it the other day, and she had talked about, I think, what if, you know, there were these what if scenarios that, you know, kind of are running, you know, through her mind, and I've entertained them in the past. What if they had just taken a turn in another direction from an evidentiary standpoint, and the whole thing could be lost, you know, up in smoke in a second. And what if, you know, somebody had mishandled that sheath? What if they hadn't gone with the data that they could recover off of that phone? What if some misstep had happened? You know, if maybe the wrong people got involved in the investigation along the way, which, by the way, I'm still waiting on that internal investigation. I want to know who released that information, and I will never stop wanting to know about that bit. And they say that it's ongoing, and I've heard that it is something, it's an active investigation, wanting to know who the leaker was. And the prosecutor, now get this, the prosecutor and the police are not involved in this. The people that work the case, because they don't know who did it. So this is a separate investigation that's going on at this time.
Talk about, that's an actual investigation we can trust, I think. To a degree.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll see, because look, at the end of the day, there were a lot of things about this case that you didn't really, I'm not going to say that you mistrusted or distrusted. I think that it's the fact that we got so much information coming at us at one time from various sources. I got to tell you, you revealed something to me today that I didn't hear about prior to our conversation, that started about an hour ago. We started chatting, and that completely changes the complexion of this case. And it's a prime example of some of the data that was released at that particular time. Or when I say released, I think that it's data that was pushed out that's not necessarily accurate, but yet it drove a narrative. It drove a narrative that a lot of people believed for a long time until you discover the proof is truly in the pudding.
So, do you want to start shopping for your next car but don't know where to begin? Start at CarMax, where you can shop your way from start to finish. Whether you're shopping for something practical, adventurous, or luxurious, CarMax puts you in the driver's seat. And if you want to shop cars that fit your budget, CarMax has your back all the way. Simply grab your phone and get pre-qualified from your couch, the dog park, or even on a coffee break. It's quick, easy, and has zero impact on your credit score. Want to explore your options? CarMax has plenty of options. In fact, with over 45,000 cars to choose from, CarMax has rides for almost every budget, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. From browsing online to checking out cars on the lot, you can shop your way at CarMax. Want to get started on the search for your next car? Start at CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating melon serum. This next generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
When you stay in your home, what you love gets to stay too. From the gardens that grow wild to the grandkids that run wilder. From the Friday night baseball games to the Sunday morning brunches. Even the daily crosswords and weekly book clubs. There's room for it all with help from Home Instead, the largest in-home senior care network with over 30 years of trusted experience delivering the peace of mind you deserve. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
Dave, I don't ingest everything that comes in across my desk in the media. You're much better at it than I am because it's what you do. You've got so many hats that you wear, and you literally, folks, I don't know if you know this, Dave gets granular. I mean, incredibly granular with details because he is tasked with so many things. I'm the least of things. Just think about having to do these things for the production of Nancy's show. And Dave really does deep dives. And Dave, I had yet to see the body cam footage until just a bit ago. And you kind of drop some info on me with this, and I was amazed by it. Okay. Can you please expand on that and give us an example of how one misstep or one wrong word can completely influence your perspective?
The weird part about the body cam footage that we're talking about that is now out. First of all, you have a scene that makes no sense. 6 people are in that home. 4 are dead. 2 are alive. What we now know, Dylan Mortensen knew a whole lot more about what took place and told police on that day. Body cam footage shows Dylan Mortensen talking about what was going on in the home, and she describes hearing. She says it was Kaylee. Okay. Dylan Mortensen tells the police that she heard Kaylee say somebody's in the house, and that it wasn't just a silent, it was a scream. Somebody's in the house.
Yep.
And she ran up and down the stairs, and Dylan is saying Kaylee. And we know that it was just misspoken. It was not intentional or willful. It was emotional, and you can hear in her voice. She mistaken Xana or Kaylee. Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan were up on the 3rd floor in that bedroom by themselves. What Dylan heard was somebody is here in the house, and it wasn't a happy somebody's here. That was part 1. Part 2, she heard Kaylee running up and down the stairs. And it was, of course, like I said, she says Kaylee, crystal clear, but she meant Xana. It was just a misspeak. But Joe, the way she's telling the story now, and this is 11:45, and it's about noon, 12:30, somewhere in the day. The attack took place 8 hours before she's talking to police. Understand that she's describing something that happened at 4:15 in the morning, Joe. Hearing a man is in our house, hearing Kaylee run down the stairs, hearing her fall, and then she describes the person that she sees. Somebody she doesn't know, wearing a mask over part of his head, wearing black, and leaves. And doesn't call for help? That's what we now know. We know that. Here's the other part. When the body cam footage picks up, the other officers have been on scene. One has already been in the house. And there are a number of students at the facility. They're at the house, but they have not really gone around in there. We know that one of the young men who came over, because the original description was that a girl is passed out and she's not waking up, like, alcohol, drunk kind of thing. And Ethan was in the bed and they didn't look at him. But when police come in there, a lot of the younger people that have been in the house already, they don't know what's going on. They don't know that anybody's dead. They know that something not good is happening, possibly an overdose. There's not blood all over the living room. There's not blood splatter everywhere that they can see. And so they're standing, and when the police arrive, they actually get them out of the building, get out in the parking lot. And when the officer goes through the house, he thinks that it's just Xana and Ethan. It was only after a police officer went in and decided, well, we got to clear the whole building. That's one of the things police do. You don't just take for granted that you have a dead body here and everything else is okay. You have to go through room by room, door by door, closet by closet. Everything has to be open and cleared.
Yep.
It was during that process that they find on the 3rd floor, Kaylee and Maddie. And that's when it really becomes a tough time. And that's when they radio from inside the house to outside, and the kids the college kids that are there, hear them say, we have 4 dead bodies.
Yeah.
And then you immediately hear weeping, gnashing of teeth, because they didn't know. And
they had no idea.
No.
They had, yeah. And look, I can't listen, whatever, however Dylan happened to misspeak at that point in time, I'm not going to cast aspersions on him for doing that, because I can't tell you how I would react. I've seen how people react, when they have borne witness to traumatic events. And I know that stories can change, and they change because, first off, in that kind of haze in the beginning when things are going on, you don't know what's real and what's not real. I mean, it's truly a surreal environment to be in. And that's what, she's dealing with at that moment in time. And then you're having to talk to law enforcement on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's enough to put anybody's nerves on edge most of the time. So you've got this frenetic environment, and then you introduce more people into the environment, and it's, you, like you said, weeping and gnashing of teeth, this sort of thing. And it kind of drives a narrative. And imagine this, for a long time, because this information leaked out, and it was leaked out based upon what she had said on that tape. We don't really know what the origin of that was, or the source of it. But as it turns out, it wasn't Kaylee. Right. It was Xana. And imagine this. I want to transport everybody back into your mind just for a second. Think about it. If you've ever lived in a house with a staircase, Dave, looking at you, because you got kids, you can tell when people are coming up and down staircases.
Yep.
And I mean, all of us have a particular way of walking, but if you're in a frantic moment, and we've all heard people, maybe many of us have, running down a staircase. Can you imagine this, hearing this thump, 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 thump like that? There's somebody in the house, and they're screaming this out. Well, you and I were chatting just a few moments back, about, I think Xana met him on the staircase, and I thought that for a while. And he begins attacking her. And he's probably attacking her before she ever makes it back into the bedroom, and she's fighting like a hellcat. Yeah. And this is after he's done everything upstairs. And, mind you, after he has forgotten the sheath that's upstairs, that's laying on the bed adjacent to the bodies. That bit right there is, in my estimation, I think, and I'll kind of explain this as we go along, but in my estimation, I believe that if it were not for that sheath and that bit of DNA that was found on that snap, it pointed in such a direction based upon the DNA technology that was utilized, that if that had not been treated with kid gloves and it had not been examined in the appropriate way, guess what? All of the stuff relative to Cellbrite that has come out with the phone, it never would have come out. It never would have come out. And here's what I'm thinking. This is like a series of dominoes, evidentiary dominoes, and the first domino that had to fall was going to be that bit of DNA that was recovered. And that DNA, think about this, we're talking in molecular terms, something that can't be seen, something you can't see with the unaided eye. That bit of biological material that was deposited on that sheath and on that snap was the key to everything else that turned this case to the point where Kohberger was taken off the streets.
So, do you want to start shopping for your next car, but don't know where to begin? Start at CarMax, where you can shop your way from start to finish. Whether you're shopping for something practical, adventurous, or luxurious, CarMax puts you in the driver's seat. And if you want to shop cars that fit your budget, CarMax has your back all the way. Simply grab your phone and get pre-qualified from your couch, the dog park, or even on a coffee break. It's quick, easy, and has zero impact on your credit score. Want to explore your options? CarMax has plenty of options. In fact, with over 45,000 cars to choose from, CarMax has rides for almost every budget, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. From browsing online to checking out cars on the lot, you can shop your way at CarMax. Want to get started on the search for your next car? Start at CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating melon serum. This next generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
When you stay in your home, what you love gets to stay too. From the gardens that grow wild to the grandkids that run wilder. From the Friday night baseball games to the Sunday morning brunches. Even the daily crosswords and weekly book clubs. There's room for it all with help from Home Instead, the largest in-home senior care network with over 30 years of trusted experience delivering the peace of mind you deserve. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
I really want to give credit where credit is due. And one thing that has, kind of caught my eye is, Dave, an interview that Jeff Nye, the prosecutor, gave in regards to his involvement with Kohberger's case and, kind of how all this went down for him. And he had taken the lead. He's part of the prosecutorial team, and he had taken the lead really of from the perspective of the DNA, how it was going to be, and I think that he understood that was going to be the linchpin, and he lays it out really well. And, they knew that they had a sample of DNA. They knew that it was existent upon that sheath. They had recovered it from.
Let me ask you a question about that, Joe.
Yeah.
All right. When I think of DNA, I think of a liquid or some substance that I can actually see or, can recognize. But when you're talking about finding a knife sheath, when you go to search something like that for DNA, what's the process? Because it's just a leather or plastic thing that houses something, and now it's laying there. How do you go about trying to determine if there's anything on this?
Very carefully.
Yeah.
Are you
looking like dusting for friends?
Smart aleck, but it's like, no, not at all. They'll regionalize that the sheath itself. They'll literally break it down into segments. Okay. And so this is, one of the, matter of fact, Greg Hampikian, who I know, who is a DNA scientist at Boise State there in Idaho. And I've worked with Greg before, actually, years ago when he was still in Georgia. Great guy and brilliant mind. One of his problems with the Idaho case is that it's the single source that was collected, and you've heard about the Q-tips. With Q-tip is actually used to collect, collect this. And he's talking, one of his, because DNA is so delicate, he has opined that bit could have been picked up from another location, and there's no foolproof way of saying that you can. It's not like drawing blood from somebody's arm. Okay. All right. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can have it like, you sit here, a phlebotomist comes and draws the blood, from your arm, or you take a sample of blood from the finger, or whatever it is that you do, and you can validate that. But you've got an unknown, and you're introducing this Q-tip into this space. Could it have been drug across another surface where Kohberger's DNA may have been, or something similar, a familial relationship in that environment? And it seems really far-fetched, but that's the scientific mind working. How do you make this foolproof? And he suggests that it is not a foolproof methodology. Okay. They did a great job of recovering it. And I think that that's one of the things that Nye was looking at, with this case. Could he sell it? And here's the problem. They had our friends at Othram, and you and I talk about them all the time. I'm an Othram evangelist, I guess you could say, because I believe in what they do. Mm-hmm. I'll always say that, because there's nothing like getting the unidentified identified. Mm-hmm. But Dave, most of the cases that Othram is involved in are cold cases. Matter of fact, I think the lion's share of them are. And they have helped solve homicides. We've covered them on this show, have we, or have we not?
Yes, we have.
And it's not just unidentified bodies. They've gotten involved with old homicide cases that haven't been cleared, and they've found solutions. There's people that have gotten a conviction based upon this IGG, the investigative genetic genealogy process that they've developed. But here's the thing. Othram's in the middle of this thing, and this is kind of a behind-the-scenes look at this. Othram's in the middle of doing their examination based upon those open-source DNA databases that we've heard a lot about that Othram uses. Okay, they're not going to go into a pay set, these closed organizations, to get it. And look, this is one of the big things that people fear. I'll fear it, man. All right. Mm-hmm. Where if you donate or you submit a DNA sample, and it's a closed loop where nobody else can get access to it, you're worried that if this creeps out, they're going to be able to find information about me. And we had this conversation. I take issue with anybody that says that, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't fear. Well, you can take your logic and stuff it, because I don't believe in that.
There's always a Mark Furman in the hood. There's always a Mark Furman behind a brush somewhere with a bloody glove to drop on you.
Yeah. And so I look at it that way, and I look at it from the perspective of, it's not just that bit of DNA knowledge that could, attach somebody to a crime. I'm thinking about all the other things that it can be used for. Looking at you, insurance companies, if I have a predisposition to some kind of genetic problem, relative to a particular type of cancer, are you going to deny me care? You get off into all this esoterica. It's not really esoterica. I think it's legitimate. So the Othram wasn't doing anything wrong. They're doing their same process. Well, the FBI inserts themselves into this. And even though it's clearly stated in their handbook and in press releases that they are not going to use non-open source methods of doing, investigative genetic genealogy, guess what?
They did.
They did in this case. And that was with Nye, the prosecutor. That was the big bugaboo for him, that he had to get this past the court and argue this thing before the judge, because, he had plainly stated that if Hippler, the judge, had shot this bit of evidence down, then this was a house of cards that would fall relative to this evidence that they're trying to build out. That's the reason I said the Cellbrite stuff, okay? Because it's from that one bit of DNA that you find on the button snap that they may have suspected Kohberger, but it was confirmatory to them. So once that's confirmed through, let's just face it, these astronomical numbers that you come back with a DNA fingerprint, it's from that point that they begin going back and pulling cell logs, and they're tracking this guy now. And the Cellbrite thing may have never have happened. It may have. I don't know. There's no way to predict it. But you can see how it could fall. It could collapse.
It's all circumstantial. I've always wondered about a circumstantial case, because you mentioned Cellbrite. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, if they don't have that DNA on that knife sheath, then they don't get him 6 weeks later at home. They don't follow him and see that he's actually touching garbage with gloves on and putting it in baggies and zipping it and putting it in other people's trash cans. They don't have all of this behavior that is really suspect. They don't have all of the things that they were able to put together on this guy. Remember when his dad flew to Idaho to drive with him back from Idaho to Pennsylvania. Kohberger had already lost all of his funding. He'd already had his PhD funding pulled because of the jerk that he was. Nothing to do with this case. He wasn't publicly mentioned at that point. He lost that on December 19th, had his funding pulled. He was no longer going to be a TA. He had lost his PhD. He was done. He was actually going home for good. He wasn't coming back.
He wasn't going to come back. I don't think. I mean, maybe he was going to come back and collect some of his things, but his academic life at that point was dead at Washington State. They wouldn't touch him with a vaccinated crowbar. No, I'm serious. I'm just saying the staff there, because this guy is, you talk about throwing a wrench into the system. That whole ecosystem of the PhD environment can be thrown into total and complete chaos with somebody. They're not going to take a chance on this guy any longer.
So what happens with this, Joe? You got the DNA and you've got the proof on the sheath. They had to pull in help from Othram to do the genetic genealogy that you used.
And initially they had them working on this. Okay. But then the FBI steps in and they're wanting to use the non-open source DNA. And that's how, it led to this, apparently. And, or it's one of the elements that Jeff Nye was considering, when he's making this argument before Judge Hippler, because he knew that this thing would implode. Perhaps if the judge says, no, you can't do this, you can't do this, everything else collapses around it. And isn't it amazing how,
goodness,
maybe I'm being dramatic here, but this one bit of molecular material, all right, that most people don't even give a thought to, and it's hard. It's even hard many times for me to understand. If it wasn't for that little bit, none of the rest of it would happen in the sequence in which it did happen. Maybe at some point in time they would have caught him based upon other evidence that was developed or whatever the case might have been. But this little twist, and we're at kind of an interesting crossroads legally, Dave, moving forward, because the investigative genetic genealogy is a game changer. We know this, just going back to Golden State, with the Golden State Killer. I mean, we knew that was a game changer just simply based on that. And how many of these other cases now after, I remember several years ago when I was at CrimeCon, I was actually on a panel with 4 of the surviving members of Golden State Killer and the daughter of the girl that was spending the night away. I don't know if you remember the story. She was spending the night away, and both her mother and her mother's boyfriend were murdered that night. I was on a panel with them, and I've got this great photo of them that I took at CrimeCon, and they've all got their backs to the camera, and they're all hanging a bird at the picture of they had an image hanging there. This is after they had caught an adjudicated thing, and all these victims are shooting a bird at the image of the Golden State Killer. It's like this classic image that happened to capture at that moment in time. But going all the way back to then, we knew that the playing field had changed. But I tell you, with the FBI kind of changing their rules midstream with this case, and they really haven't talked about it a lot. They really haven't at this point about what they did. We know that there are internal standards that they have at the lab where, they said we're not going to do this, but yet here we are. Unless they did it. Kohberger's no longer among us. He's out living out his days out there. Waiting for whatever come what may. I'll put it to you this way: I would not want to be receiving. I think we were on the air the other day with the warden, the guy that's the esteemed warden that the penologist guy, the PhD guy. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. And they were talking about the special meal that he might get because prisoners are making the meals, and he's considered now a snitch because he's ratting on everybody that he's complaining. You keep your mouth shut. You keep a real low profile, and he's done completely the opposite at this point in time, and he finds himself in a very precarious position. But either way, he's now there. And look, I think that one of the requirements for this plea deal was that he can't appeal. And I know.
Yeah,
and I know that it's coming. That something will put up there. My question is, I think one of my questions is the DNA going to enter into that thought process? With whatever legal mind decides to take this on, because there are plenty of attorneys out there that see this they see this case as a challenge, an intellectual challenge for them. It doesn't mean that they don't have sympathy for the families and all that, but lawyers are going to lawyer. Lawyers do what lawyers do, and it'll be very interesting to follow this going forward. And I don't know. I'm kind of interested, kind of watching, kind of stepping back and watching this thing develop in the wake of the sentencing and everything, and seeing how many more data dumps are going to come about. What else is going to be out there. I'm sure that this is kind of a slow release. I was kind of, and I'd love to get your feelings about this. I was kind of encouraged that they blocked any further images, or they've got what do they call it? They've asked the judge to put a hold on that for right now, where the police department could release any other images. And I think it was actually Maddie's mom that was really the tip of the spear with that. I don't know that it serves any purpose for any of us to see those images. Any of us, I don't know. But I was really curious about what you thought about that.
Joe, I'm with you that I don't want to hear about this guy anymore, but I think this show today is very important because the FBI did something they've said all along they wouldn't do, and they did it. As for the pictures of the victims, I don't think if they serve a purpose in helping to solve future crimes, I would understand it. Other than that, I cannot see, other than prurient interest, to see something. I mean, look, man.
Yeah.
There are plenty of images of people who have been destroyed one way or another. I just don't think we need any more of them. But I do. It's funny. I believe in a free society, and so I'm kind of like, whatever floats your boat, man. If you want to look at those pictures, it's just at a certain point you have to have some kind of feeling for the families. And
yeah, you have to.
I just the thought of them having to wake up and see more. Come on. I hate it for them. And then you see something like this come out. And
and these kids, they've had the spotlight thrown on their lives.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for it.
Nope.
I mean, they really didn't. It's really a shame. I think back to Dale Earnhardt's death and the efforts his wife made down in Florida, because she was bound and determined that none of his autopsy photos were going to be released. They didn't want data to come out of that autopsy, and I think that she wound up achieving the ability to get, I think that they actually did create a law relative to that. From an educational standpoint, I teach at the university. I teach death investigation at a university, and I don't need those images in order to further myself academically. I know what I've been told about them. The case is adjudicated. Why are they out there? Or why would you want to put them out there? What are you trying to satisfy by doing this? I think it's the big thing. They just serve no purpose. But there are a lot of ghastly things out there that we'd rather not see, but they're out there. And that's and I guess the cynic in me knows that, that it'll come about. Years ago in my practice in Atlanta, I actually had a guy that was beheaded, fell off of a bridge overpass and being chased by the police, and was impaled on a fence post. And those images came out, and they weren't the images I took. They were images from an Atlanta firefighter, and they were found on a German website. So it does happen. It does happen. But with all of that said, hopefully we'll be able to shut the door on this chapter and put it to rest, because we now know that a monster is no longer among us. He's secure. He's not going to harm anybody any longer. We just hope that the families can heal. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags.
Sometimes all we want is more of the same, like another round of golf played from a channel with 24/7 coverage, another look at the garden, and the deer as they pick their way through it, another Taco Tuesday, followed by a whatever's in the fridge Wednesday. And to get more of the same, all we need is a little help. With adaptable care plans from qualified, compassionate caregivers matched to your family's needs, Home Instead can help you and your passions stay home, no matter what's on your horizon. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
This is Teddy Mellencamp from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge. There's a new season of 90 Day The Single Life, and it's hotter than ever.
If you've never seen 90 Day before, this is the one that will get you hooked. Their marriages crumbled. Now, 8 singles are taking the lead and stepping back out to the scariest place of all, the dating world.
There will be exciting first dates, steamy hookups, big letdowns, and potential love waiting in the most unexpected places.
Don't miss a new season of 90 Day The Single Life, Monday at 8 on TLC.
After the holidays, your home deserves a reset, not another routine. Right now, get a free Pura home diffuser when you subscribe to 2 cents for 12 months, risk-free for 30 days. Create calm on your terms. Visit Pura.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.